In the previous video, we have seen how we have used this test data to plot our bar chart with the custom visual code, and we have seen that means how this value, which is whatever hard coded values which is given here, that how we have plotted in our custom chart. And this is how it looks like. So you can see means whenever we do have this, whatever the test data which we have used, we it is showing this bar chart like this. And in this video we are going to bind some real data. That real data, that means whatever the values which we are selecting here in the regions or cells. So that is something which is we wanted to see. This is, now you can see this region is something which is going in the category section, and this is coming in the major data, which is cells here. And you can see this capabilities.json. Capabilities.json is one file which is having the project dependencies, and that where we need to understand means this can be used to specify some of the visuals things where we can see data roles. Then we do have data view mapping. This is something which is mostly related to the data views which we are going to use it. You can see this category data and measure data. Now if you can see here where it is, this is available in there. Here is the category data and measure data. Now you can see this category and measure data. Now we can change this. Let's make this as a categories, and this will be values. And if you just try to save this, and when we refresh this, you can see this has been changed, categories and values. Now there are two other properties here, which is name and kind. So name is something which is a category is fine for this, because that is something which is we are going to have as a dimensional data. This kind is something which is specifying the type of the data, means what type of the data is it, a numerical field or is it a dimensional data. So basically whatever the dimensional data, like dimension columns, which is region name, country name, then city name, like that will fall under grouping type. And then whatever the sales data, like whatever the sales data, like maybe amount or salary, that kind of data will be falling under this kind data type. That will be following under the measures. So we will keep this category as a grouping, and then values, we can make this as a value, and kind we will keep it as a measure. So this is something which is we are going to do is, now if you go to the visual.ts, means what is the test data which is we are using, we are need to delete it, we are not going to use it. Now there is something which is we need to get some meaningful data that should be replaced with this test data, means whatever which is we have used as a test data everywhere here for plotting the chart, that we are going to replace with some of the data which is going to extract it from the data sets. For this, we are going to go in the update method, where we are going to set all these things which is we need to update. Now let's try to do this. Like for that, we need to have one variable which is the data extracted. Whatever the data which are going to extract from the data views, that we will be storing in the one type of array. Right now this array will be empty, because initially it will be empty, but we are going to push all the data which is going to be extracted from the data sets in this array. For this, I am going to the options dot data views, and we are going to see the first values, which is categorical. Now where we can see this categorical, if you go to this capabilities.json, means in this data view mappings, there is a section where we have this data view mappings, where you can see this is a categorical at the first property, then we do have categories, and then we do have values as well. So the something which is we can rename this as a value. So you can see the select statement which is used here, select values. So that will be placed in this values, means and this data view is nothing but whatever the data view which is we are connecting to the database. So that is something which is placed here. So this categorical is something which is, you can say this is the first level. In that we do have categories and values, two sections, and in that we do have category and value. Now coming to here, now we can get the first values, and we will mention that in some variable, let's say means categorical data. Now once we have this categorical data, we need to get the categories and values. So we will just mention as category, and then we whatever the variable which is we have just created categorical data, then we will just get it the categories and the first element of these categories, and we will get the values as well. So we will just mention as a data value, so that it will be more meaningful to understand. We'll just not get confused in anything here. So again, we are going to specify the categorical data and values. So this is something which is we have got these values. Now why we have taken the first zero element, because in this capabilities of this capabilities file in the data view mappings, there may be multiple categories as well. So this is the first categories. Then maybe you can see means if there are multiple columns, or then we can have the multiple categories and values as well. So we don't want to do that as of now. At the first place, we are just going to take the first element. So that's why we are taking the zero for categories and values. To do that means we need to add one more condition in the capabilities.json as well, where we are going to add one condition here in the categorical data view mappings. In these conditions, we are going to specify two parameters for category and value. So we just wanted to have only one category as a max, and one value as a max to get retrieved from the data sets. For that, we are just going to specify like this, and in this category we are going to specify again here as a max, and we wanted to specify 1. And for value as well, we are going to do the same thing, which is here max as 1. So this is something which is we are just specifying in the data views mapping. So whatever the category and value which is coming from the first element, that's what means we wanted to retrieve as of now. Now coming to the visual.ts, now whatever the values which we are having here, like whatever the data values we are getting of values, and in category we are getting categories. Now we are going to push that in this data extracted variable. So how to do that? Let's try to do one for loop. So for loop is something which is a statement, logical statement, where we just iterate our data one by one for each value, and that we will push it into this empty array which is here. We'll just write let I is equal to 0. So let is a data type, you can say, as just whatever it is, integer or string. So I is equal to, we are specifying as 0, and I is less than whatever the category we are having here, that we are going to specify as a category, and then values dot length. So maximum whatever the value, suppose there are 100 values, 100 categories in that particular region, then that should be taken as, and it will be iterated one by one for each row. And then in this means once we have added this for loop, now we are going to push this in the data extracted empty array, which is here. So we do write data extracted dot push. So we are going to push in this, and in this bracket we are going to specify the array which is category and value. So for that we are going to write category, then we are going to specify whatever the category which is coming from here. So this is something which is category dot values, and in this we are going to specify in the bracket in the square bracket as I, because that is something which is going to iterate one by one in this for loop for all the data. Means whatever the values, like suppose there are 100 rows in that data view, then it will be iterated 100 times, and that will be pushed in this category, and in this category will be pushed into the data extracted. So that is something which is we are going to do is, let's take the value as well. In value, we are going to take this data value which is here and its values. Again, we are going to specify. So once we have done this, now we will try to just replace this what is test data was variable was there with the data extracted. So here we are going to see this, just to wherever we have the test data, we will just going to specify this data extracted. Something which is we are going to do is, let's save this both the files and just try to refresh this now, and we should able to see the changes in the chart. Now we can see means how we can validate this. Now let's try to add some more other bar chart here, and we'll just try to specify the region and values for them. So you can see both the values are the same, means you can see how the structure it is. So this is a visual bar chart from here, and this is a custom visual. So we can say this is working, and whatever the values which were coming from the data views, that will be displayed. Now one thing we need to notice it. Now we are whatever values if you select here as well, that this chart doesn't removes, or it doesn't changes anything, means whatever. So suppose if you just resize as well, then it doesn't affect anything, like means it doesn't shrink, or it doesn't improve. So that is something which is we wanted to see it why it is not working, and we need to make sure that it works in that way as well. Means whenever we remove these fields, then it should be not spread here as well. So that is something which is we wanted to do it. Now coming to this code, whenever we are saying, like now you can see, means whatever we have done, like whatever the plotting of this, we have just written as bars dot. So whatever this bar container which we are using, and we do have used just a enter method, which is, and for that we just added this height, width, and other data points. So that is something which is that's why it is not working. Now let's try to do that, this bars dot exit, and we can use this remove function as well, so that this should work now. So basically whatever the classes which we'll just try to means whatever the code which is we have written for the height and width, we'll just try to do some separation here. We will just mention as bars dot attribute, and we will just separate out, so that this enter and exit, and this enter and plotting of this is something which is separated out. For this to work, means we need to understand, means whatever the data which we are extracting, means it should be extracted only if there is anything selected. Means that is what something which is we wanted to do it. For this, means whatever this code which we have written here, we will use some if condition here, and in this if condition, means that is what means we are going to do this. Now if we just try to add this code here in this, and now in what we are going to do is here we are going to add some conditions on the data views, where we are going to verify, means whether it is having the categories, and then category and values as well, then only run this code, otherwise it will not run. For this, let's try to write some code, like which is options dot data views. So this is one conditions which we are going to specify, and in that, after that, which we are going to mention this options dot data views. So in the first we will verify options dot data views, and then we will specify options dot data views of 0, means that first element we are going to take it, and then we are going to add another conditions, which is options dot data views dot categorical. So this is something which is we are going to add it. Now we have this options dot data views is the first element we are going to check. Then we are going to see these first elements of options dot data views, and then we are going to see the options dot data views dot categorical. So this is some third thing which we are going to see, and we do have we wanted to check options dot data views. Then in categorical we do have these categories, and we are going to specify the last thing, which is about the values dot values. This is something which is we are going to check. So the only when these conditions are satisfying, whatever the conditions, like whatever the options values are there, whenever it is having means these conditions are satisfying, then only it is going to be running this code and pushing into the data extracted variable, and then that will be help will work. So let's try to save this, and if you come back here, and now we'll just try to refresh this now. Now, when we see this here, means we'll just try to see it. Now we can say this is selected, and if you just try to remove this, then it is get removed. And if you just try to re-add it here, if it is not, I think it is not working. But if you just try to resize this, then it is coming. Like now, if you just remove this, now this is also working. It is getting removed. But if you just try to add it again, it is not adding it. This is working on the resizing as only. So let's try to fix this. This is because whatever code which we have written here, we are just adding this enter as, and we are just creating this rectangle bar, but we are not adding any width or height or any data point when we are having this enter. So for that, we'll just try to copy this code from here, and we'll just try to paste it here, and we'll just try to save this now. And if you just try to refresh this now, we can say, means let's try to remove this. For now it is gone, and if you just try to select this, it should come now without any resizing. For resizing as well, it will work like this. However, for if you just remove this as well, then also it is work. So now if you just add it here also, it is working like this. So something which is this is working now. This is how we can add bind our real data for this bar chart or custom chart. And now in the next video, we will just try to see how we can color this bar in custom code.